Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 4 p.m. Adoption of the agenda.
That West Elgin Council hereby adopts the regular council agenda for April 23rd, 2026 as presented.
Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Sousa. Seconded, Deputy Mayor Tellier. All in favour? That's carried. Disclosure of any pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none, we go to 4, which is a public meeting. Elgin Incentive Community Improvement Plan. A presentation and public meeting. Carol Curran, County of Elgin. Elgin Incentives 2026 Draft Plan. Welcome.
You want the presentation on the screen?
Oh, that would be great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mayor Leatham, through you to Council. Good evening. Thank you for having me here. I'm here to talk about the 2026 update to the Elgin Incentives Community Improvement Plan, or CIP. This presentation will walk you through what the program is, why it's being updated, what's new, and how you can share your feedback. So as we get the presentation up on the screen, I will share the legislative notes with you. So this meeting is being held in accordance with the requirements of Section 17 and 28 of the Planning Act. Notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the prescribed process defined in the Planning Act. Anyone can make an oral and/or written submission to the municipality of West Elgin regarding the plan. If a person does not make oral and/or written submissions to the municipality of West Elgin respecting the CIP before a decision is made to approve this plan, their eligibility to appeal and/or be added as a party to a hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal may be affected. All right, so I'm ready to get started. If we move forward I think, so there's a presentation as well as the plan, which is a different document. But I can start with about the project. So what is a community improvement plan? A community improvement plan, or a CIP, is a tool that municipalities can use under the Planning Act. It lets us identify areas that need improvement, create a long-term strategy to support those areas, and offer municipal incentives like grants or tax support to encourage private investment in community improvement. So again, this is one of the only tools that municipalities have to provide grants to private businesses. Otherwise, that's considered bonusing under the Municipal Act. So what is Elgin Incentives? Elgin Incentives is the Elgin County framework for a county-wide community improvement plan. It's been around since 2015, and it is an award-winning program. It was the first of its kind, the first time a county or an upper-tier municipality developed a county-wide framework that was then adopted by all of its local municipalities. So currently, it includes 12 financial incentive programs that support things like building improvements, facade upgrades, and signage on private property. So the county prepares, manages, and largely funds the program, but each local municipality must formally adopt the plan for it to apply locally. So now that we're more than 10 years into Elgin Incentives, it's a great opportunity for us to step back and look at how the program is performing. And we have a map in this presentation that goes over those statistics. So we can just jump forward a few slides. There we are. All right, so we have funded a total of 287 projects in Elgin County, providing $1.56 million in grant funding that have supported a total of $9.44 million of private investment. Of those 287 projects, 37 of them have happened in West Elgin. On the next slide, we'll take a look at the phasing of this project. So again, it's been 10 years, and we're looking at what's working well, what's not, and what needs to change. We've learned that some incentives no longer align with today's costs, policies, or priorities, and that there have been growing interests in housing and larger economic development projects. And this work happened in 2 phases. The first phase was background research and review. And the phase that we're on right now, phase 2, is actually updating the plan with what we learned through phase 1. Now we're on to the background work. And the background review highlighted several key points. Again, as I alluded before, grant amounts didn't keep up with the rising construction and labor costs. This program was developed in 2015. The cost of construction today is significantly different than it was 10 years ago. And also today we have interest in housing incentives. These were not included in the original plan. We also learned that the plan could be clearer and more user-friendly, and that there was a need to better support both existing. We're just a few slides previous to this, I think. Oh, does it? All right. Well, I'll keep on going and maybe it'll catch up. We also learned that there's a need to better support both existing local businesses and larger economic drivers. So overall, we learned that the plan needed to be refreshed to feel more modern and also accessible. So based on the review, a set of recommendations were created, and those were put together in a recommendations brief. So this included reorganizing the incentives, adding those housing-focused programs, increasing the maximum grant amounts, and introducing new tools that municipalities could use to lead community improvement initiatives. And again, there was also a strong focus on simplifying the program so it's easier to understand and administer. So previously we had that vision statement up on the screen. So there have been no changes to the overall vision for ELG incentives. The plan will continue to focus on countywide economic development, supporting improvements to buildings and communities, and helping to diversify the local economy over the next 10 years. However, we did update the goals of the plan, and the updated goals include creating more affordable and attainable housing, improving main streets and core areas, supporting rural and agritourism development, improving building efficiency and sustainability, and encouraging overall economic growth and vitality. So now we're on to the updated financial incentives. So to simplify things, the 12 grant programs were consolidated into 6 main ones, and we added 2 new housing programs. So funding limits now vary by program, but overall the support cannot exceed 50% of the eligible project costs. As before, the incentives are administered and funded by the county, but local municipalities can choose whether or not they would like to participate financially in the program. So the first program that we're going to take a look at is the Facade Signage and Property Improvement Program. So this program supports visible building upgrades covering up to half the cost of construction, professional and application fees. So for this program, I believe they are eligible for $18,500 for construction, as long as that does not exceed 50% of their project costs. And you can combine the 3 different parts of this program. So you could apply for cost of construction, professional fees, and also application fees. The next program is the Brownfield program, and it supports the cleanup and redevelopment of contaminated sites. And this includes funding for study grants, also temporary tax cancellation, and a longer-term tax increment grant to encourage redevelopment. We also have a building improvement, conversion, and expansion program that supports larger renovation or redevelopment projects. And this also includes a tax incentive grant for over 5 years. Now, the construction portion of this grant now goes up to $30,000, as long as that doesn't exceed 50% of the project cost. And we also have a building efficiency and sustainability program, and this focuses on projects related to energy efficiency and sustainable upgrades, helping to reduce environmental impacts. Excellent. So if we go a few slides forward, these just contain the details of each program. Perfect. Just one up. There we go. So the industrial stimulus program encourages industrial growth using tax increment grants with additional support for very large development. So I'll take a moment to talk about what a tax increment grant is. So I'll give an example. Someone owns a vacant lot. and they would like to build an industrial facility on it. And they're building a 45,000 square foot new facility on this lot. As a result of that development, their property taxes go up. So a tax increment equivalent grant essentially rebates whatever that increase is because of the development. And we have a 5-year and a 10-year program. In the 5-year program, you get that increase back for a period of 5 years, and it decreases 10% annually. So for the first year, you get 100% of that increase back. The second year, it's 90%. Third year, it's 80%, etc. So for the 10-year program, this is for larger industrial development. So if you're developing an industrial facility that is 60,000 square feet or more, it's similar to the 5-year program, except it decreases by 10% all the way until year 11 when it is 0%. The next one here is the Agritourism and Rural Diversification Program. And the goal of this is to support farm-based businesses and rural economic activity. And you will see again that there's a materials and labor portion of this grant that is up to $10,000. But you can also combine that with those other two for professional fees and application fees. So the largest application that you could see under this program would be up to $15,000. And the next slide, we'll have information on our 2 new housing programs. So the Affordable Rental Housing Program supports the creation of new affordable rental units, including planning costs and annual tax-based grants. To note, the tax-based grants are directly tied to the amount of rent being charged. So the rent does have to be under market rate. And this is something that the owner would report on year after year. If the rent ever goes to market rate or above, they would no longer be eligible for that funding. So again, that's something that is tracked year after year. And we're also introducing a new additional dwelling unit program to help homeowners add secondary units like basement apartments or garden suites. And this is a value of up to $10,000 for up to 50% of the construction and materials cost, as well as support for professional fees and application fees. And now we are on to our municipal leadership initiatives. These are new non-financial tools that municipalities and the county can use to support community improvement. So these are optional, flexible, and they depend on council priority and available resources. And when they're used alongside the incentives, they can strengthen overall results from the private CIP projects. So the first initiative included here is the Streetscaping and Public Space Strategy. So just on the next slide, this initiative focuses on improving public spaces, things like sidewalks, crossings, lighting, trees, public art, and accessibility. The goal is to have a plan to make communities more attractive, walkable, and welcoming. On the next slide, we have our public land inventory and opportunity analysis. So this initiative involves creating an inventory of all the public lands and assessing their potential for things like housing, employment, and accessibility. And the goal is to help inform partnerships, funding opportunities, and also long-term planning decisions by local councils. The next initiative is a brownfield inventory. So this builds on the brownfield incentive that we went through earlier by mapping and tracking the contaminated sites across the county. And having the inventory would make it easier to target the incentives and coordinate redevelopment efforts. And the next one, the Ready to Build ADU catalog, also builds on that ADU incentive. This initiative would create a set of pre-approved or pre-reviewed ADU designs. The idea is to make it faster and easier for homeowners to create additional housing while ensuring the designs meet local regulations. And our final initiative is Climate Change Adaptation and Resiliency. This initiative focuses on making communities more resilient to climate impacts. So examples include green infrastructure, building retrofits, expanding tree canopy, and using climate resilient design in municipal projects. So now we're on to our next steps. What happens after this presentation tonight? So following this public meeting, all of the feedback will be reviewed and used to refine the plan. County Council is expected to consider endorsing this plan at the Committee of the Whole next week. After that, local councils will be asked to adopt it by bylaw in May. If there are no appeals within the required time period, the updated CIP would take effect, and then we would start planning when we are going to launch this program. So likely late summer, early fall, something like that. And so the final slide lets you know how you can learn more and share your feedback. So that QR code is a link to our project page where you can find all of the documentation. My contact information is also on the screen. So if anybody would like to contact me to ask questions or submit feedback, they are welcome to do that. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That was excellent. A really good incentive for everyone, really. I'd just like to acknowledge we have already a comment from somebody from the public, and it was received from a Mr. Curtis Hay and forwarded to the county already. Is there anyone else from the public would like to speak?
If I may, Mayor Leatham, through you, the feedback. So if you take a look at any of the programs that we are offering and you think that you might have a project that fits into one of those and you're not quite sure, you could reach out to me and ask. Or if you have a project that doesn't quite fit into one of those, maybe you could offer some suggestions as to what you think could improve the program. But again, if you have a specific project in mind, that will probably help you frame that feedback for us.
Thank you. Now I'm asking for council's comments. Yes, Councillor Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the chair. Carolyn, thank you. Great presentation. And Elgin Incentives come a long way. I remember when it first came out, I took advantage of it for my business. And one of the things I think was not limiting, but was a condition at the time was that the incentives were contained within commercial districts. So now if somebody had a home-based business, for instance, would they be able to take advantage of some of these programs for expansion or signage?
Through you, Mayor Leatham, to Councillor Dennings. So in the new program, it's again, we have those 6 new programs. It's instead of by use, we more have it organized by where you're located. So for some of the programs, you do need to be located in a settlement area. Some of them you do need to be in the Main Street corridor. However, for the Rural Economic Development and Agri-Tourism grant, that is for the agricultural areas. So it all depends on which area you're in, which programs you're eligible for. And there are maps included with the CIP, and also an online tool where you can search up your address, click on it, and it'll tell you which area you're in and then which programs you're eligible for based on where you're located.
Thank you.
Further questions? No, thank you. It was excellent, and I'll be seeing you next week, and we'll talk about it again. Thank you very much. And that takes us on to 5, Committee of the Adjustment. And I'm going to call this Committee of Adjustment to order at 4:19. Adoption of the agenda.
That West Elgin Committee of Adjustment hereby adopt the agenda of April 23rd, 2026 as presented.
Move it, please. Councillor Statham, seconded. Councillor Sousa, all in favour? That's carried. Disclosure of any pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Adoption of the minutes.
That West Elgin Committee of Adjustment hereby adopt the minutes of January 22nd, 2026 as presented.
Move it, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded. Councillor Denning, all in favour? That's carried. And goes to 5, which is the purpose of this meeting.
The purpose of this public meeting of the West Elgin Committee of Adjustment is to allow the presentation of one application for minor variance and to allow interested members of the public an opportunity to ask questions or offer comments with regards to this application. Written comments must be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer of the committee. If any member of the public would like to be notified in writing of the Committee of Adjustment's decision on a particular application, they are to provide their name and mailing address to the Secretary Treasurer at clerk@westelgin.net. This will also entitle you to be advised of possible local planning appeal tribunal hearings in the event the decision on this application is appealed. Notice was sent via regular mail on March 24th, 2026 to property owners within 60 meters, 200 feet of the subject property and to agencies requiring notice.
Okay, that takes us to 6, which is a minor variance, D13 2026-01, 22295 Hoskis Line. For the planner's report, Evan McKinstry, Junior Planner, Elgin County. If you'd come up, Evan, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to the committee, the purpose of this report is to provide the Committee of Adjustment with a recommendation regarding minor variance application D13 2026-01 for the property located at 22295 Hoskins Line. The applicant is seeking relief from Section 20 of the General Industrial M1 Zone in the West Elgin zoning bylaw to permit an increase in the maximum building height from 12 meters to 15 meters. An increase in the maximum lot coverage from 40% to 45%, and a reduction of the easterly side yard setback from 4.5 meters to 3 meters. These variances are required to facilitate the expansion of an existing precast concrete manufacturing facility. The increase in building height is necessary to accommodate an overhead crane to support internal material handling operations. The increase in lot coverage will allow for the building addition. The reduction in the side yard setback is required to align with the existing building footprint, given the irregular configuration of the lot. The subject property is approximately 20.09 hectares in size, and is designated rural employment in the municipality of West Elgin official plan and zone general industrial M1. The site is currently used for industrial purposes and is surrounded by a mix of agricultural, industrial, and commercial uses. The property is also located in close proximity to the Highway 401. Providing efficient access for transportation of goods movement. From a planning perspective, the proposal is consistent with the PPS, which supports the protection and efficient land use within the employment lands. It also conforms with both the Elgin official plan and the municipality of West Elgin official plan, which encourage continued industrial development within designated employment areas. The proposal maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw, which supports the functional requirements of the existing industrial use. Staff are satisfied that the application meets the 4 tests of a minor variance under the Planning Act. The proposal maintains the intent of the official plan by supporting employment growth within a designated rural employment area. It maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw as the requested changes are functional in nature and do not alter the permitted industrial use of the property. The development is considered desirable for the appropriate for the area given its compatibility with surrounding land uses and its location within the existing employment area. Finally, the requested variances are considered minor in nature as the changes are modest and are not expected to result in any adverse impacts on adjacent properties or the broader area. No comments or concerns were received from the public, agencies, or municipal departments during circulation of this application. Based on the foregoing, staff are of the opinion the application is consistent with planning policy, maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw, represents appropriate development for the area, and is minor in nature. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there any written comments received?
None received at the municipal office.
Committee comments? Yes, Councillor Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the chair, and thank you very much. Actually, my curiosity is with the height going up, is there any concerns from a firefighting perspective with regards to our current infrastructure and apparatus? We have our fire chief here, I'll put you on the spot. Any concerns?
Yes, please. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah, good afternoon. Through the chair to Councilor Denning. No particular concerns. There's obviously we look at residential and industrial commercial buildings a little bit different from firefighting capacity wise, but no, we have no specific concerns about this project, proposed project.
Further comments? Any comments from the public? Seeing none. Motion, please.
I'll read the recommendation.
Yes, please.
The recommendation is that West Elgin Committee of Adjustment hereby receives the report from Evan McKinstry, Junior Planner, regarding minor variance application D13, 2026-01, recommendation report, planning report 2026-10, and that West Elgin Committee of Adjustment grant the requested minor variance to obtain relief from Section 20, Table 20-1, General Industrial M1 Zone Standards to permit an increase in the maximum building height from 12 meters to 15 meters. In addition, relief is requested to increase the maximum lot coverage from 40% to 45%. Further relief is sought to reduce the requested side yard width from 4.5 meters to 3 meters.
Okay. The mover, please. Deputy Mayor Tellery, seconded. Councillor Statham. All in favour? That's carried. And that brings us to 7, which is adjournment.
That West Elgin Committee of Adjustment hereby closes this public meeting held pursuant to the Planning Act at 4:26 p.m.
Mover, please. Councillor Denning, seconded. Councillor Sousa. All in favour? That's carried. And it takes us to 6, which is a public meeting, zoning amendments. 6.1, D14 04 2026 22709 Silver Clay Line. Plans report. Evan, it's over to you again, please.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Through to the committee, the purpose of this report is to provide council with a recommendation regarding zoning bylaw application D1404 2026 for 22709 Silver Clay Line. The application is a condition of consent E5025 to facilitate a surplus farm dwelling severance. The proposal seeks to rezone the retained farmland to general industrial A1 to agricultural A2 to prohibit any future new residential development, and to rezone the severed parcel to a rural residential special provision 4 to recognize the existing dwelling and to allow for a reduced lot frontage and increased lot area. Subject lands are designated agricultural in both the county and municipal official plans and currently contain a dwelling and accessory structures. The amendment ensures a severed dwelling lot can be created while providing the retained agricultural lands in accordance with provincial and municipal surplus farm dwelling policies. The application is consistent with the PPS, which permits surplus farm dwelling severances, provided the retained parcel is rezoned to prohibit new residential development. It also conforms to both the county municipal official plan, which supports protection of agricultural lands and controlled severances. No concerns raised by agencies or the public, and the application satisfies all zoning and minimum distance separation requirements. In conclusion, staff are satisfied that the application is appropriate and recommend approval of the zoning bylaw amendment D1404 2026 as presented in the bylaw 2026-10. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Landowner or public comments? Seeing none. Council comments? Again, seeing none. Can I have the recommendation, please?
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Evan McKinstry, Junior Planner, regarding zoning bylaw amendment application D14 04 2026 recommendation report, planning report 2026-11, and that West Elgin Council approve zoning bylaw amendment application D14 04 2026 to rezone the subject property from general agricultural A1 zoned to agricultural A2 zone and rural residential special provision 4 RR4 as presented in the bylaw 2026-10 attached to Appendix 1 to Planning Report 2026-11. And subject to no concerns being raised at the public meeting, that bylaw 2026-10 to amend the zoning bylaw 2015-36 be presented at the regular council meeting of April 23rd, 2026 for adoption. Planning Report 2026-11.
Thank you. A mover, please. Councillor Statham, seconded. Councillor Sousa, all in favour? That's carried. And that brings us to 6.2, D14 05 2026 136 Furnival Road. The planners report. Evan, over to you again, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the committee, another pretty straightforward zoning bylaw application. Purpose of this report is to provide council with a recommendation regarding zoning bylaw amendment application D14 05 2026 for 136 Furnival Road. The application seeks to rezone the subject lands from a future residential to residential first density to better reflect the existing residential land and align with surrounding zoning. This amendment is also required as a condition of approval on consent application E826. The subject property is located within the Tier 1 settlement area of Rodney and is designated residential in the municipality of West Elgin official plan. It is currently developed with a single detached dwelling and is serviced by municipal infrastructure. The proposed R1 zoning will ensure consistency with the existing use and surrounding residential development. From a planning perspective, the application is consistent with the PPS and conforms with both the Elgin County and West Elgin official plans. These plans support residential uses within settlement areas and the efficient use of existing infrastructure. The proposed zoning appropriately reflects the existing residential use of the property, aligns with surrounding lands, and satisfies all applicable requirements of the zoning bylaw. No concerns were raised or circulated by agencies or the public. In conclusion, staff are satisfied the application is appropriate and recommend approval of zoning bylaw application of the zoning bylaw application. And thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Landowner or public comments? Seeing none. Councillor comments, please. Councillor Statham, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I just had a question. So when I was looking at this report, I noticed that there are some existing farm buildings that are on the retained parcel. It looks like there's a couple barns, some sheds, a lean-to maybe. If that parcel is severed, that essentially removes access to those buildings if that property were sold. So I just wondered if how would you gain access to those if that parcel is severed and then sold down the road? You have these buildings back there. I'm just thinking long term in terms of potentially if they need to be torn down or if the farmer needs to access them, or how would that look if that severed parcel was sold to a different owner? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I believe there might be access off Pioneer Line. I could be mistaken. Yeah, I believe there is. And that entrance allows for the access to those farm buildings. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just to follow up, when I'm looking at the photo that was provided in the report, it's farmed all the way around the buildings in the retained parcel. So I don't see how there would be access unless they put in a gravel laneway through that existing farmland. So again, I'm just thinking about a long term, if one day those buildings need to be taken down, or if, the farmer wants to access them, they're relying on that access that runs through that severed parcel. And I'm not sure how they would access those buildings if this were to be sold down the road. Thanks.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I can look into that and get back to you too and provide feedback.
Just
Am I able to speak to that?
can I speak to that?
We have a section for public comment.
Yes, I have a section for public comment.
Just turn the button in the middle.
My name's Mike Howard. I actually have the subject property listed for sale. it's a huge question that came up by a lot of the prospective buyers on that who had kids or something like that. Like, is a farmer going to be in and out of here? Is there access? So I take them for a walk around to the back, and there is a fairly clear developed laneway that farmer in the back plans on using. He'll store implements and things like that kind of go with that retained parcel in those barns, and basically retain access off Pioneer. So I can confirm that there is access.
Thank you.
You're very
Appreciate
welcome.
it. Thank you.
for that. Further questions? Seeing none. Could I have the recommendation, please?
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Evan McKinstry, Junior Planner, regarding zoning bylaw amendment application D14 05-2026, recommendation report, planning report 2026-12, and that West Elgin Council approve zoning bylaw amendment D14 05-2026 to rezone the subject property from future residential FR to residential first density R1, and as presented in bylaw 2026-11, attached as Appendix 1 to Planning Report 2026-12, that subject to no concerns being raised at the public meeting, that bylaw 2026-11 to amend zoning bylaw 2025-36 as amended be presented at the regular meeting of council on April 23rd, 2026 for adoption. Planning Report 2026-12.
Mover, please. Councillor Denning, seconded. Councillor Sousa, all in favour? That's carried. And that brings us to 6.3, which is adjournment of the public meeting.
That West Elgin Council hereby adjourn the public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act and reconvene to regular council.
Mover, please. Deputy Mayor Telly, seconded. Councillor Denning, all in favour? That's carried. And that takes us to 7, which is a closed session.
Just before we move into closed session, council will be going to a separate room, so you all do not have to leave the facility. You can stay in this room. The recommendation is that the Council of the Municipality of West Elgin hereby proceeds into closed session at 4:37 p.m. to discuss matters pursuant to the Municipal Act, Section 239(2), F, solicitor-client advice, interim controls, C, proposed disposition of land, Monroe Street, and A, security of municipal property, Rodney Recreation Center.
Mover, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded. Councillor Sousa, all in favour? That's carried. Okay, we're report from closed session, and I'm going over to the clerk to provide a report.
So reporting from closed session at 5:17 p.m., West Elgin Council received 3 items pursuant to Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act for information purposes, and administrative direction was provided.
Thank you. And we go to delegations and presentation. And it's 9.1. It's Mike Howard, reconcerns with the Planning Act Zone Bylaw Appeal Period. Mike, if you'll come up, please.
All right, so I'll just quickly introduce myself. Mike Howard. I've, I guess, lived here my entire life, grew up here. Huge amount of, I guess, respect for the community, and all I want to see is for it to grow. What I'm going to talk about, obviously, there's really not anything or solutions that I expect from you folks, just brainstorming. I know that it's the law. Having worked in education for quite a long time, I taught high school for 17 years. Around people and a system that knew things weren't right, but when people don't speak up, nothing gets changed. So the process for changing the zoning on a property, basically, all the community or surrounding property owners are notified that this application has been brought forward, and they have the opportunity to speak out. They have 20 days up leading up until a situation like today where you folks had voted on something like that. Which I think is a great process, very fair. Neighbors should have a say in what's going on in their community and specifically their local community around them. And then any concerns are heard. Ryan brought up a great concern that he came up with in regards to access, things like that. And then council votes, which is what happened today. And then the next part of that process is another 20-day waiting period for appeals to be brought forward. If anyone in the community disagreed with the vote or council's decision. So I think that's a very fair process as well. If I had a complaint leading up to the vote, council decided, regardless of my complaint, that in fact the bylaw change was going to take effect, I would want a chance to appeal that decision. I guess my confusion, I'm a pretty common sense fella, so I look for ways to cut out delays or cut out things that just to me don't make sense. If nobody leading up to the council's vote brought forth any complaints, then that 20-day waiting period for appeals to me just doesn't make a ton of sense. And having researched this, I kind of always had a good idea on how the process worked, but now that I am in real estate, I'm seeing how it has a direct effect on members of our community, specifically members from outside of our community trying to come into our community. It's got nothing to do with the municipality of West Elgin. It's a provincial planning. My understanding is a provincial planning law. So I'm not asking for you folks to change anything, but I guess what I am asking is what I had 3 ideas to kind of expedite the process. The first one is like clear, quick communication with the surrounding neighbors, which you guys did, in my opinion, a fantastic job with. Like those signs were up right away. The community knew what was going on. Any concerns the community had, I guess the second thought was just quick response to the community. Personally, I've had absolutely nothing but great experience reaching out to the office, counselors, quick responses. I got no complaints there, but it's the advocacy to the province, I guess. I would love to ask all of you, do you think it makes sense that if there's no complaints leading up to the vote, that there should still be an appeal period after? If the answer is no, we got to speak up and we got to say in a situation like this. So how it affects constituents of our municipality is this 20-day waiting period now could affect a pre-approved mortgage rate for a buyer on a property or a seller trying to replace their house, which doesn't sound like a big deal. You just go back to the bank and you do it again, right? But when that's a 90-day locked-in period and you're at the end of your 90 days, a lot changes in with financing rates. This is tens of thousands of dollars that it could potentially cost, constituents in the community, which I would rather see them put it towards property taxes and things like that. But so it does have an actual real impact on members of the community that I guess I didn't see. It was just a process. Like, who cares? It's the process. It doesn't make sense, but it is what it is. What's the big deal? But it is a big deal. And I think if we can streamline things, the best place to start is things that just don't make sense. So that's it.
Thank you for that. Yeah, we're all listening. And so we go to 9.2. But yeah, Councillor Sousa.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just, whatever's coming out of that, I would like to motion that this matter be referred to a future date to allow council and staff to review the bylaw. Maybe we can discuss potential options. Is that possible?
What are we deferring, Sorry, Councillor Sousa,
I want to bring this, what he's asking is to us to maybe look into it. Maybe we can discuss it in the future date.
Yep. Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah, just making sure. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll go to 9.2. Mr. John Kirby, representing Sri Rodney Property Incorporated, interim measures, Rodney Market. Thank you. Could you put your mic on, please?
I always try and speak loud enough, so.
Yeah, I'm just going to remind you because, delegations are governed to 10 minutes.
Yes,
Thank
I'm
you.
aware of that. I'll try to be shorter even. Okay, I understand you just got the report from Mr. Case, the solicitor on behalf of the municipality. I've got some brief submissions from him, which are basically in line with my client's point of view. Okay, if we look at this alleyway, I've checked, it's actually owned by the municipality, has been since the beginning of time as I know it. On the survey, it shows a 19.8 foot wide alleyway, which if you want some sense of the distance from that wall to the corner of this podium is how wide that laneway is. Now, I was there today. You've got some overgrown grass, you've got, look like some trash containers on one side, and it may appear at face value that it's actually less than the 19.8 feet. But 19.8 feet is generally acceptable for two-way traffic in a parking area. So it's not like this is a very small laneway and there's not room for everybody. If you've got the council brief from Mr. Case, there's no sense me repeating all of that. Told that there's approximately 3 to 5 deliveries a week to the store. They take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. The practice of the drivers, and they're instructed to turn off their trucks as they're unloading. They work for companies other than my client. Of course, they're delivery trucks for the various products that are sold in the store. So I think it might be helpful, and I would just suggest that in the time between now and May 7th, when we have the opportunity to make fuller submissions in advance of the May 14th meeting, that I don't know if council has the ability to have the laneway surveyed or not. My client is happy to pay half the expense of doing so if necessary. I think if we get the delineation of the laneway set out, it will make for a resolution. It'll be simpler to find a resolution than sort of speculating on how much room there is and things of that nature. And we'll determine whether or not there's any encroachments on it. So those are my only submissions, subject to whatever questions you might have. And I appreciate that today was limited to 10 minutes. We'll have written submissions if we can't resolve it before May 7th, and which will give a fuller presentation. But I'm happy to address anything in the interim, as it was suggested that we try to find an interim solution. I think the best thing on that is, as I say, get this survey done or the delineation of the laneway till we know, so we can actually determine how big of an issue this is. Any questions, John?
No, seeing none at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
It'll be taken in.
I'm sorry?
We're listening.
Okay, thank you.
So we go to 9.3, Dawn Ghettos and Keith Montgomery. Interim measures, Maria Street, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My husband and I own the home at 151 Mariah Street where we live with our family. First and foremost, I'd like to say and make it very clear that we are not out to cause any harm to the market or disrupt their business in any way. We recognize that they are an important part of our community. I had just received the staff report yesterday and had a chance to read it over, as this is a public document and I would like to clarify a few things. I believe that this is not a full and accurate report. Mr. Gandero's garage door access is not noted on the map that was provided. I think it is fair to say he has also raised concerns over the years. Not only does he have access concerns, but ongoing property damage to his building as the larger trucks are backing into the alleyway, as well as stopping and parking on his drainage systems. I think that these should be included for council to consider. Historically, deliveries may have been made and received from this location, but not exclusively. Historically, lots of deliveries have backed in off of Furnival Road. And council would also need to consider increased in number of deliveries today, as well as the longer delivery times. Historically, there has been ongoing disputes between property owners who abut the alleyway. Our older, smaller garage has 2 existing 8x7 doors. So this is a 2-car garage. It was on December 16th, not the 23rd, that Mr. Keeler attended and seen the situation firsthand. He immediately implemented a temporary solution that placed and put a temporary solution in place, sorry. But unfortunately, the market owners and staff refused to follow. My husband and I use the laneway for vehicle access. It is the only access to that garage. However, rather than just using the laneway for access, the trucks have been parking in the laneway, idling for substantial periods of time, blocking other property owners. And when our driveway is obstructed, the trucks are idling their engines sometimes for 30, 40 plus minutes. This interferes and limits our property. This also greatly interferes with the enjoyment and use of our backyard, as it does Mr. Blaine's. When the trucks are idling mere feet from our fence, sometimes so bad the noise and exhaust will need to leave the area while they deliver. It's also become a real privacy issue. Again, the trucks are backed in and they can see right over the fence into my private space. These trucks are in violation of West Elgin's bylaw, parking bylaw, and West Elgin's idling bylaw. This staff report makes it seem like it is necessary, that this is the only way the deliveries can be made, and this is incorrect. A number of the carriers, large and small trucks, do complete deliveries by means of accessing the market doors by either backing in off of Furnival Road. It's a large space. There's a large guardrail to protect Rob's building. And I know that Canada Cartage is currently using this access point. I also know Sobeys has, as well as other companies. The trucks gain access to the same delivery doors. In addition, the market owners own the vacant lot north fronting off of Stinson. This is currently what the beer store has been using. They're pulling straight through the alleyway, stopping directly behind the market, delivering, and then exiting off of Stinson. In addition, there's also room in front of the market to unload on Furnival. I've seen Coca-Cola do this, successfully complete deliveries, all while the 401 was shut down. Traffic diverted down Furnival, no restrictions, no delays, only took up a few parking spaces. The market can direct their deliveries to use alternative routes in case they don't feel comfortable following the bylaw solution of pulling straight through and backing out. But this was the current solution. So yes, there are options. I think that the staff report therefore is incorrect when it suggests that possibly blocking the laneway may be a necessity. So why not follow Mr. Keeler's lead with his temporary solution? The obstruction of the laneway only happens because it is the market's preferred method for the trucks to back in. The market wants to use what has historically been a public laneway for the benefit and access of all adjacent property owners for its exclusive parking and unloading area. It seems the solution is simple. All that has to happen is West Elgin Council can uphold Mr. Keeler's temporary solution, uphold the bylaws, possibly with the addition of signs, that have been proven to work over on Center Street. I think that may even be steps towards a more permanent solution. This does not cause any financial hardship, hurdles, or losses for the market. We don't want to restrict the market's access from the alleyway, nor do we ever want to attempt to block them. This staff report suggests that the market owner has no control over the market deliveries. And I'm sure that's what he has said, but I'm also sure it's obvious the owners can dictate how to receive deliveries on their own premises. And they should have to abide by the bylaws like everybody else. Again, the violations were recognized by the bylaw enforcement officer on December 16th, and he had immediately put into place a temporary solution. I'll refer to his email, and I'm quoting, "No one except municipal and police are permitted to park in parking zones or block roadways or driveways." He also goes on to state that the market owner and management should have reached out to shipping companies to correct this behavior. His next steps are waiting to hear back from the market and confirming they have talked to their dispatch. And then he will contact any difficult parties. I would also like to say that my husband and I have worked extensively with the delivery companies to try to bring them into compliance and respect Mr. Keeler's temporary solution of pulling in up behind the market and backing out. We have also followed his instructions and the municipality's request to document any violations, as there is very limited bylaw enforcement in West Elgin. Not once has the market acknowledged Mr. Keeler's temporary solution to us, nor have we seen him follow it. So I encourage council at the very least to uphold the bylaw officer's solution with only some small adjustments that respect all property owners involved. After all, this is what bylaws are for. And at that, I mean, I think we would be headed in the right direction. So thank you.
Thank you for that. There's been a lot of notes taken while you've been doing that.
Do you want to bring your report forward?
We can bring it forward now if you'd like the council to have a discussion.
We'd like to bring that report forward.
If council would like to bring forward the consideration of West Elgin parking bylaw from Chief Administrative Officer Robin Greenall, I would need a motion to move that item to the next item on the agenda.
Move, please, Deputy Mayor Tellier. Seconded. Councillor Statham. All in favour? That's carried.
So with that, we will move to item 12.5.1, consideration of West Elgin parking bylaw.
I've got a building down on my sheet. Adoption of the agenda, we're up.
Wait. Right here. We're gonna. It's the.
Okay, it's not in order. Okay, so we go to 12.5.1, consideration of West Elgin parking bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, may I direct your attention to a report that was submitted regarding our current parking bylaw and looking for interim solutions for concerns that have been arising between the Rodney Market and the neighboring residential's property owners. Council, we have been listening to both property owners, hearing their concerns, both the sort of sound and disruption that it is causing the residential neighbors, and then the concerns of the market to receive delivery. The report before you provides a couple of options for council to consider. And remember, this consideration is an interim solution. This is just how we will proceed over the next 4 to 6 weeks until a final resolution or final solution can be brought before council for its consideration. Council, added to this report is really speaking to the residents' concerns and then the market concerns. I did receive an email and a conversation from Canada Cartage, so it's one of the third-party deliverers. That will be part of the May 7th report to council, but it is bringing it to your attention now in that while we are looking at a more permanent solution in the future, who we do need to take consideration actually are the delivery drivers and their preferred solution. Some concerns were brought to our attention by Canada Cartage and the positioning of the alleyway and maybe some of the assets being hydro poles and fences and drains within that alleyway that we might want to take into consideration if that's a long-term solution. But I will add that to your report for May 7th, but just be aware that delivery drivers are asking that we take some consideration of how their larger trucks can move through this space. So before you though today are a couple of options. Though council, I would encourage you to maybe have some open discussion about what option you think we should investigate for the next few weeks. just so that we can continue to provide service to our community, but then also address concerns of our residents. Mr. Mayor, if there are any questions that council may have, unless you'd like me to walk through options we put forward, but certainly council, we are willing to amend any of those options if need be.
I'll ask council if they have any questions.
Okay.
Any questions from council? Yes, councillor Denning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. Robin, thank you. And to the delegates, thank you for taking the time to be here and speak to council. Obviously, staff has a lot of work to do in order to bring back to council a solution or a recommendation that will be of a more permanent nature in the next 4 to 6 weeks. In the meantime, it is on us to establish a temporary solution until that more fulsome report can be prepared. And I know that every time a bylaw or a rule is changed or amended, it requires learning from many different people. In this case, the neighborhood, the folks that are delivering into the market, staff, human resources who have to temporarily change the rules and possibly enforce them. Because we have a more work being done on a permanent solution, I think at this point, my preference would be to remain status quo, just so that we are not applying more additional work and confusion to all the folks that are impacted by this. Because if we change things right now, we have to do some education work in order to let folks know what that change is. And then 4 to 6 weeks later, then we are then again having to ask people to relearn the process. So that's my 2 cents, is that we only have 4 to 6 weeks to go before having something more permanent. In the meantime, I think status quo would be likely the most responsible thing to do. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that. Any further questions? I personally feel I agree with exactly what you said, and we're making more work and involving more people by trying to change things right now. So I agree with that. Deputy Mayor Tellier, please.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you, Councillor Denny, for your words. And thanks for everybody that came today, the 2 delegations, for exactly what you're trying to achieve for everybody to be on the same page. So I also feel we could keep things status quo, more from the same thing as Councillor Denning had said. We're going back and forth, and there's rules one week and they're changed the next, but also for the carriers that are coming in and they're not confused. But I think maybe we could add something to it so that the idling could be addressed. I do know that the Chapman's truck, we don't want to have straws for ice cream, so he probably needs to idle, but the other vehicles, just a small reminder, not enforced, but just a small reminder to not idle. Because I believe that's our bylaw, correct? To not idle?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we do have a idling bylaw.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that
For 5 minutes.
it wasn't, yeah. So, and keep things status quo other than that, for the time being. And keep in mind that, once again, anything perishable will have to idle because of the reefer unit. That's just my thoughts on that, and then we'll work on it in the interim.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Sousa.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just, the Rodney Market, did they always have access to this road? They always had access to that alleyway. They've been there for a long, long time.
Yep.
So I'm more comfortable with number 2, pass a temporary limited bylaw exception that permits drivers to permits trucks to block access way. I'd rather see them have a time limit. They come in, unload, and proceed. I think they've been a long-standing business in our municipality. I think they're essential. I mean, they're food industry. They're important. We want them to stay. We don't want them to go. I mean, we need to support that type of business.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't take any more from the floor.
Why not? Thank you.
Further? Okay, That's the end of the delegations.
That was Robin's staff report.
Yeah, okay.
So council, at this moment in time, you've had some conversation. What we would need from council is a motion giving some direction from you on how you would like us to proceed. A motion can go forward. Of course, you can continue to deliberate on that. But Mr. Mayor, at this time, we would be looking to council for direction for staff.
Yes, Councillor Statham.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'd like to put forward a motion to maintain the status quo pending a final resolution, and I would strongly encourage all of the parties involved to work cooperatively together to come up with a resolution on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Denning. Is that a move?
Second that.
Okay,
It's moved by council.
okay. Moved, second, Councillor Denning. All in favour? All opposed? One opposed. Councillor Sousa.
Yeah.
I put my hand up.
Yes. Yes, you have majority for.
Yeah, the majority. Yep. Majority goes, thank you. Okay, so we go to 10, adoption of the minutes.
Robin, you still want, I still need to read your recommendation though, does that? That motion?
If you had.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Councillor Sousa, Councillor. I'm looking at Councillor Statham. Council put forward a motion to maintain status quo.
Correct.
If you have a motion, I think you're fine.
Okay.
At this moment in time, unless you want to read that out and say that council's approving option 1.
We're good.
No.
Do you want a 5-minute break to let anybody leave that would like to? They're welcome to stay.
Yeah, we're going to take 1 5-minute break. I need. Okay, we're starting again. And we go to 10, adoption of the minutes.
That West Elgin Council hereby adopt the minutes of April 9th, 2026 as presented.
Move it, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded. Councillor Denning, all in favour? That's carried. Business arising from the minutes? Seeing none. Staff reports. 12.1, building. 2025 year-end report. You've all had opportunity to have a look at it. Any comments? Can I have the recommendation, please?
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Corey Pemberton, Chief Building Official, regarding the Building Department Summary Report for the month of December 2025.
Move it, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded. Councillor Sousa, all in favour? That's carried. And then we move to 12.1.2, 2026, first quarter building report. Again, it was all in your package. We all had a chance to read it. Any comments? Seeing none.
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Corey Pemberton, CBO, regarding Building Department Summary Report for the month of January to March 2026.
Move it, please. Councillor Denning, seconded. Councillor Statham, all in favour? That's carried. Thank you. 12.2, fire. 12.2.1, first quarter 5 activity 2026. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, good evening, Your Worship and Council. Couple items to highlight here in the quarterly report this evening. Several provincial certification certificates have been handed out this past quarter, and then we've got more to hand out in the next month or two. So it's great to see that our firefighters have been training hard. You'll see we've had a focus on mental health, health and wellness training throughout, I guess, over the last quarter, throughout the winter. We've listed those courses there. Most of that was conducted through joint funding that was we worked with Malahide was the lead on that, so we were able to provide some provincial funding for some mental health courses. And then exciting news for the department and the community. Our capital project, our tanker, is progressing well. And we do expect final inspection to be scheduled for mid-May. So the three fire chiefs, as council will recall, it was Malahide, Bayham, and West Elgin that ordered the matching tankers. So we'll be headed out there mid-May. It looks like, to be confirmed, but looks like mid-May to do final inspection. We would expect to have delivery in late May, pending any deficiencies that have to be corrected during final inspection. And then you'll see the apparatus. The tanker will probably be here for a few weeks, at least, just while we get training on it. So it will be here before it technically goes in service, and you'll see it probably honestly driving around the community once it's here. So it'll be pretty well complete. Most of the lettering will be complete when we get it. We will complete some of the lettering in-house when it arrives, but we're looking forward to getting that in service. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions from council? Seeing none, everything's going well.
Yes, well, thank you. We always appreciate council's support, so thank you.
Could I have the recommendation then, please?
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the quarterly fire report for January to March 2026 from Jeff MacArthur, Fire Chief, for information purposes.
Move it, please. Councillor Sousa, seconded. Councillor Denning, all in favour? That's carried. Thank you. 12.3, infrastructure and development. And we go to 12.3.1, spring cleanup at the landfill.
Thank you.
David, please. Dave.
Thanks. I bring this report to solidify the suggestion or the proposal to implement 3 half-price days at the landfill in May on the 6th, 7th, and 8th. It's with the landfill coming to capacity. We find that half-price days for this time of year to get people out there to get the landfill and get some spring cleaning done would be a great time for that to happen. So if anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Questions from council? Deputy Mayor Telly, please.
Through the chair, thank you so much for bringing this back to us. I believe it was Councillor Denning that suggested the half price, so thank you for that suggestion to keep up with monies that we would need for when our landfill unfortunately has to close and be maintained. Wondering if we're gonna have extra staff on if there's a influx or if we can pull them at all.
Through your worship, yes, I've been working with my staff to make the availability to have some additional public work staff out on site during that time, and along with our landfill attendant.
Okay, I see that in the report there. Just wondering, in the past, have we pulled a lot of people? So I should have been clear. Have we pulled a lot of people or not?
I'd have to look back to see how many people we pulled before, but I think we'll have to judge it on the first day's service because we can only get so many people through the gates at the same time. So the site is only so big as they come on. So we can only handle so many people. Will only be able to handle that many residents that come out on site.
Okay, I think this is a great compromise and fiscally responsible, and thank you for the report again.
Any further questions? Councillor Sousa.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I see it's May 6th, 7th, and 8th, which is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Is there any extended hours on that, or is it the same hours?
The plan right now is to have the regular hours at the landfill. We'll be open on the Saturday as well, but it won't be part of the spring cleaning day. So, because as the earlier comment, we'll probably have to bring extra staff in. So that's the consideration there.
Thank you.
Councillor Statham, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you. I just wondered, Dave, maybe you could comment on this. Is it possible to maybe have one day over the weekend? Just because I think a lot of people work during the week, and I know myself, for example, we've got a bunch of stuff that we would have brought, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is kind of tough for those of us that have full-time jobs. So I just wondered if that fell into the decision-making process. Maybe you could comment. Thank you.
The reason we did the 3-day week so we wouldn't have to incur any overtime for the weekend. If council is willing to make that suggestion, we can adjust this, but then I'll be calling extra staff in for those days.
Councillor Sousa.
I'll agree with, through you, Mr. Chair, I agree with Ryan. I think we need a Saturday in there, because likewise, I work hours and a lot of my neighbors, they work full time. I can't see how they're gonna get their garbage out there when they close. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Yeah, through the chair.
Deputy
So
Mayor.
our normal hours are Wednesday, Friday, Saturdays. So I'd like to make the motion that maybe we investigate Wednesday, Friday, Saturday for our dates for our spring cleanup.
Okay, I can see the need for a Saturday, to be honest with you, because I know a lot of people work, and that's when the truck's out and nowhere near, and they need it at the weekend to go to the landfill. So if we're going to make an exception, I think it'll do good if we did open it on a Saturday.
Through your worship, also thinking we're never open to Thursday, so that might be confusing as well. We're Wednesday, Friday, Saturday.
If we forfeited one
9 to
day for the Saturday, maybe
No, that's
it would work out pretty good.
So I have Deputy Mayor Tellier that has made a motion to amend. That will be May 6th, 8th, and 9th.
Okay, was that seconded?
I second.
All in favour? That's carried. Okay, and so we go to 12.4.1.
I still need to read out that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go on if you, yeah.
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council receives the report regarding spring cleaning program at the landfill from D. Sharon, Manager of Infrastructure and Development, and that council approves the recommendation to implement 3 annual half-price landfill days to be held May 6th, 8th, and 9th.
Okay, we've already got the mover and second, or do you want it again?
This is another one.
Another one.
Yes, this is separate.
So Councillor Statham and seconded Councillor Sousa. All in favour? That's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, now we go to 12.4.1. The use of corporate resources during the election policy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair to council. This report is being brought to council today as we get closer to election. Nomination period opens next Friday on May 1st. So this is just to have another policy in place that this one is required, statutory policy that is required with the Municipal Elections Act prior to May 1st in election year. So a full review of the policy was done. The reason for this policy is to set very clear use for municipal resources during elections for all candidates. It is crucial that the municipality remains a neutral, nonpartisan during elections, and this also prevents any unfair advantages to candidates through municipal resources. So it prohibits all candidates that they must follow this policy. It also is protection in place for council members, the corporation, and staff, as it sets very clear guidelines. So what the policy does, it prohibits use of municipal funds, staff time, facilities, branding, IT systems for campaign purposes. It also does apply to provincial and federal elections as well, and it covers the entire election period. So some key restrictions to go over, I'll just go over them on a high level. No campaigning on municipal facilities. With limited exceptions, like an all candidates meeting. There is no use of municipal logo, branding, or materials. So somebody cannot put those logos on any of their materials, signs, business cards, websites, whatever that may be. No campaign materials at municipal events are on municipal property. Staff cannot engage in campaign work during their paid hours. And council communication tools, whether it be emails, newsletters, cannot be used for election purposes. So as current members of council, this allows you to still do your job under the current term of council, but you must keep those for anybody that is going to be running again. You must keep those two businesses separate, your campaign and your current position. So some candidates may attend municipal events as private citizens. So if you're at a municipal event, I'll say Canada Day, our programming at Canada Day, for example, you cannot do any campaigning at that event. You must be there to attend as a private citizen. You can also rent a facility under the standard terms that it is for an all candidates meeting, and all candidates must be invited to that. So you could rent the recreation facility and host a all candidates debate evening, but again, all candidates must be invited to that, and there is to be no staff involvement from the municipality. So some key principles is really, this is just for fairness and consistency for all candidates, transparency and equal access to information, and a balance between freedom of expression and protection of public resources. Does any member of council have any questions or concerns regarding the policy? It is also one that is very standard in municipal elections, and all municipalities have one in place prior to the election, or should have one prior.
Seeing none, could I have the recommendation, please?
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the use of corporate resources for election purposes report from Terry Toshchuk, Manager of Community Services Clerk, and that council approve the use of corporate resources for elections purposes policy to be attached as Schedule A to bylaw 2026-22.
Move it, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded. Councillor Statham, all in favour? That's carried. Then we go to 12.4.2, Joint Compliance Audit Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So another one related to the election. So this one, a Joint Compliance Audit Committee. What a compliance audit committee does, it's a legislative body under the Municipal Act that is in place to review election campaign finances and contributions, applications made requesting an audit on a candidate or third parties' advertisement and financial statements. So what the joint committee means is that it is just all the lower tier municipalities within the county of Elgin. The nice thing with this is the county of Elgin does take care of this. So in essence, that the bylaws do need to be passed by the local level, one being to establish the committee, and then another one that will be forthcoming prior to October 1st will be to appoint the members of the committee. So this is also under legislation, section 88.37 of the Municipal Act, that this committee must be in place before October 1st of an election year. The reason it is coming forward so early is that because the County of Elgin has to do advertising, they have to have a selection committee, and they have to select the members, and then all lower tier municipalities must appoint the members by bylaw prior to October 1st. So there's a little bit of work ahead for that. So this committee provides oversight and accountability on election expenses and finances, transparency and integrity in the election process, and they can address any concerns relating to campaign spending, contributions, and compliance. The benefits of going with a shared model is shared expertise, consistent decision-making across all municipalities, and also reduce administrative burden as well. So attached to the report was the terms of reference. All municipalities have the same terms of reference, and the recruitment process as indicated. And yeah, that's another one for the election.
Questions, anyone?
No.
Seeing none, recommendation, please.
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Terry Toshchuk, Manager of Community Services Clerk, regarding Elgin Election Joint Compliance Audit Committee, and that council adopt the bylaw establishing an election joint compliance audit committee for the 2026 municipal election in accordance with the Municipal Elections Act 1996 as amended.
Mover, please. Councillor Denning, seconded. Councillor Sousa, Statham. All in favour? That's carried. Okay, 12.4.3, council meeting options during community complex renovations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back to me again.
Yeah.
With the upcoming renovations that are going to be happening within this facility, within the complex, we do need to decide what we're going to be doing starting in May for our council meetings. So in this report, there is 3 options for council to consider. The first one being a hybrid option, utilizing our large meeting room at the recreation center. And that will allow for in-person for council to attend and anybody else who wishes, and virtual representation as well. If council does wish to hold the meetings at the recreation center, we will need to set up the necessary IT equipment. As we do not have a dedicated IT staff within West Elgin, nor do we have a safe storage area to hold the equipment, it is a little bit tricky, so that either we're moving equipment before and after every meeting that's in there, or we would be just leaving it in there and not allowing any access to that room for any of our users. Something to keep in mind is that that's indicated in the report is that we do have rentals in there every Thursday evening. So we would not be allowing access to our card players in there. Pickleball would not be affected there in the large area in the full recreation. However, they are very passionate people and it can be a little loud in there. So just something else for council to consider. And also, if anybody's been in there for a meeting as well, when the HVAC system kicks on, it is also quite loud in there. The second option in there is in-person only, so that we would not be setting up the IT equipment. It would be strictly strictly in-person access only for council and anybody who wishes to attend the meetings as well. The third option is virtual only. So the virtual only is then fully accessible with no registration required for any participants. And this would allow all the current and planned events to continue on at the Rodney Rec Center and without any interruptions as well. So due to the temporary nature of the renovations, with anticipated date of being back here, hopefully for September 1st, it is staff's recommendation that we just go to virtual only for the short term. However, that's up to council if they wish to explore one of the options. So I'm open to any comments or suggestions from council.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you through the
Okay,
chair.
please.
Have we not thought about I call it the Scout Hut, in West Lauren? It won't be feasible to use because I know it doesn't have as many bookings as a rec center.
Right. So through the chair, I can certainly answer that. Right now, there is no Wi-Fi at that facility. We are also, the HVAC system there is not very good and gets very warm in that building. And surprisingly enough, there actually is quite a bit of bookings as well that we would have to shuffle around. So it was a consideration, but not the best option, especially without having the internet access over there.
Further questions? Councillor Denning, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the chair. I know we're all strategizing here on how we can all stay together and see each other's lovely faces. So a couple questions. Number one, the in-person only would be so that we wouldn't have to be moving AV technical equipment every time there's a meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And so I would be open to considering that as a good option so that we can continue to participate together and have people come to the meetings, because I know that that's growingly become an important thing to our community. But only if we were to have staff reach out to our card players and see if they might be willing to pick a different night every other Thursday,
Mhm.
if they'd be willing to do that for us.
Mhm.
And perhaps, do they rent the place or they get it for free?
Free.
They get it for free. Okay. All right. So anyway, just a thought that if they would be willing to be flexible, perhaps that would be a good opportunity for us to continue to meet in person. But only if it's not something that would be too disruptive to them.
We can certainly try. However, we've been very unsuccessful at getting a hold of anybody from the card. I believe that currently there is a good old fashioned note left over there for them because any phone numbers that we've had for the card players are not active anymore.
Clearly, you need to show up there.
I guess I need to go play cards. Mhm.
Does anybody know how many tables there is? It used to only be about 2 or 3 at one time.
Of players,
Yeah.
You were thinking about how many people were disrupting?
I truly don't know.
No.
Mm-mm. Yeah, so just I guess to go over as well, there is some other, just I outlined there how many meetings would be in person. So starting May 13th, we have the arena board. They could also, they're very, very flexible, could meet in person as well. And then our regular ones for county transit, they're also very flexible that they would have no problem meeting in virtually, sorry. And then our tri-county water board as well would be affected too. And also they're tend to be very flexible on meeting virtually. So again, entirely up to council on how you would like to proceed.
Any more questions? Councillor Sousa?
I would agree with Bill. I think meeting in person is very important. That'd be my preference. Thank you.
So just to clarify, to meet in person, we would either be meeting as in person only, not setting up any of the equipment, or we would be meeting in person, having IT set up all the equipment, and it would permanently stay in that position until we're back in this building, and that door would be locked and not accessible to any other users. Yeah, certainly there's the small room that we could offer in the recreation center, or I know pickleball is also in there on Thursday nights. Cards we could also offer if they wanted to come to West Lorne, they could use the Scout Hall. We're trying to find options to accommodate everybody. It's short-term pain, but certainly we want to ensure that anybody that has been using the space still has access to a municipal facility.
Yes, please.
So I guess, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess you're just wanting clarification when council is saying in person.
Correct.
You mean we meet in person without the virtual aspect. If we were to meet hybrid, then we would be disrupting it with, like, that room would be closed except for council meetings, just because we don't have the staff or the storage location for all of our IT. So hybrid, meaning we function just like this, means that room is locked off completely until September. In person means we meet in person. However, there's no online option.
The thing with in person is if somebody wants to put in for council in any way, shape or form, they can come along and just sit there and see how it goes. And they get the feeling of what goes on in a council meeting. That's one thing I like about it. Yes, Deputy Mayor Tellier.
Yeah, just sitting here thinking a little more about it. Virtually, I think would, in my view, just because we've had people in the past say, oh, I can't access it. You're limiting my access to the meetings. I know a few people watch the meetings thereafter, and then we wouldn't be disrupting, wouldn't have to move if we did hybrid, wouldn't have to move our equipment, and virtually only, I don't know if anybody else has plans for the summer, but maybe that would be an option for other people. So just sitting here thinking about in the past how people really wanted to access all of our meetings. Well, if we're not going to have virtual where someone can tune in real time or later, that might be limiting them. I don't know. I'm just putting that out there if anybody wants to think about that option as well. It's a difficult one because I don't want to disrupt people, but I also want people to have access to our meetings to be engaged either at the time or later. So it's a difficult one.
As far as I'm concerned, it's either in person, and I certainly don't mind going virtual either. So, whatever you think. Councillor Statham.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you. We're hearing a bunch of ideas here, but I think one thing that keeps coming up is that we want there to be the ability to meet in person for the public to be involved and sit in on council meetings. I personally prefer in-person meetings as well. So I'd like to be able to sit and speak directly to someone rather than just through a video screen. I think a lot is lost when you're looking at a computer screen. I echo Teresa's comments about not wanting to disturb some of the groups that have rented that facility. Although I would suggest that council meetings are important as well, and I think that having a virtual option, I think for some people that maybe for whatever reason, maybe they're disabled and they can't make it to the council meetings. I think we're seeing more and more involvement virtually, so I think that that's important too. I think that the hybrid option, installing the equipment in that space, and leaving it there, and unfortunately, like I said, I hate to disrupt people, but maybe shutting down that room for that, 4 months, I think is the way that I feel. So I would put that motion forward, the hybrid option. That would be my suggestion.
Councillor Sousa.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree with that. I just think the meetings are getting long, these council meetings are getting longer. There's a lot of stuff we need to go through. And I feel doing it at home through a screen, it's not a valuable option for me. I feel we should be in person. There's a lot's going on right now and we need to be in person. That's how I feel. And I feel constituents need to have the virtual option as well. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone?
I'll read the recommendation.
Yes, is it the right one?
Go ahead, Robin.
Yes.
I was sort of thinking because the way we should do it and the way we do it are different.
Do it.
That they haven't really passed a motion,
Right.
but I guess I'm talking and people online can't hear me. So just to recap, because we haven't passed a motion, but maybe to be consistent, we'd ask council to make a motion to amend. We will amend the motion that was put before you, even though you didn't vote on it. And then we will then pass the motion as amended.
Thank you. So motion to amend?
I would put forward a motion to amend
Thank you.
towards a hybrid option that will be in person or virtually at the rec center until the renovations here are completed.
Thank you. Councillor Sousa, that's seconding that motion.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Now I need all in favor for the motion.
All in favour for that motion? That's carried.
Then I still have to read this one.
If you'll
Thank you.
do it. Yeah.
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Terry Toshchuk, Manager of Community Services Clerk, and that council hereby directs staff to reschedule all meetings to hybrid format for the duration of the community complex renovations.
Okay, I'll need a mover for that, please. Councillor Sousa, seconded. Councillor Statham, all in favour? That's carried. We go to 12.4.4. Game on. Youth Day update.
It's me again. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. So this one really doesn't have any decision making for council. This is just to give an information update. So as you'll recall, on the March break, the Friday of March break, our recreation and communication coordinator, in collaboration with the health center, ran a Game On Youth Day. Unfortunately, one of the gal from the health center was sick, so Jenna ended up running it by herself. So all in all, it did go fairly well. Certainly some learning curves. It is something that she would like to see continue, whether it be on PA days and also in collaboration with the health center. So a little bit of hiccups, but lots of good points as well. She did a survey as well, and quite a bit of the youth filled out that survey. So that was good to see some engagement. We had pizza donated as well. So all in all, it was a good day for them.
Good.
Yeah. Any questions or concerns at all from council?
No, I'm seeing none.
Yeah.
I'll have a mover, please.
I'll read the recommendation first.
Pardon?
I'll
Oh,
read-
yes, okay. Recommendation.
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the Game On Youth Day update report from Terry Toshik, Manager of Community Services Clerk, for information purposes.
Now a mover.
Yes.
Councillor Sousa. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconds. All in favour? That's carried. 12.5.2, municipal partnership with Elgin International Club. We have some information on that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, this is a bit of a housekeeping report before you. The Elgin International Club applied for the Dutton Dunwich West Elgin grant through Community Futures. In order to receive funds from that grant, they do need a partnership with the municipality, as we would be the funding receiver. And so I had given them in theory, support, because when their application was due, the municipality would certainly aid and assist. What happens is the money has to flow through us. They're not able to receive those funds. In this report, I had noted that they had placed an application for $9,989. They were successful in receiving $3,100. So certainly, council, what I'm just looking for is your approval that the West Elgin Municipality of West Elgin partners with the Elgin International Club, whereby the municipality will receive indirect funding of its successful Community Future Grant application. If there's any questions.
Any questions, please? Oh, it seems straightforward, pretty straightforward. Could I have the recommendation, please?
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from R. Greenall regarding a municipal partnership with the Elgin International Club, and that West Elgin Council approves a partnership between the municipality of West Elgin and the Elgin International Club, whereby the municipality will receive and direct the funding of a successful Community Futures grant application.
Mover, please. Councillor Sousa, seconded. Deputy Mayor Tellier, all in favour? That's carried. Go to 12.6, corporate services and finance. 12.6.1, corporate group benefits. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, before you, there is a report on our corporate group benefit plan. Council, as you may recall, earlier this year, we changed our benefit supporter from Mosey & Mosey to People Corporation. We joined the County of Elgin and the Township of Southwold for our benefits package. And when we moved for I'm always trying to think, they're the agency that helps us and assists us with benefits. When we moved over, it was also time for us to put out an RFP for our group benefits. This RFP was led by the County of Elgin and by People Corp, of which they were then putting out a request for proposal for any potential benefits organization that would like to bid. They received several replies to that RFP. And then most recently, myself, a representative from Southwold, representative from the County of Elgin, and certainly the assistance of People Corp, we listened to the final submissions. Tallying up all of the scores of those submissions, recommendation was to put forward to change from our current provider to that of Desjardins. We were certainly impressed with the presentation that was put before us. One of the key aspects of Desjardins is that we would maintain consistency within the costing for our group benefit plan. That costing would be the same for the next year. And then they would have set increases. So they wouldn't give us what they would call sort of a coupon discount if we maintain for 5 months. But what they would do is guarantee that any increases after the second year would be limited. So that does help for budgeting purposes. We know that in the third year, there would be potential of only up to 3%, in the fourth year, only up to 5%. So as opposed to every year going and back to benefits to find out what your annual benefits may be. At the same time, we also put a call out for our accidental death and dismemberment insurance. Currently, we do use Manulife. The other two organizations are using AIG. And certainly the information that you have before you is that AIG was sort of successful both in its pricing and the services that they provide. So with that, the recommendation was for the other two to maintain AIG, but of course, that means we would have to see a movement of our provider for AD&D insurance. So council, before you is a recommendation for the municipality of West Elgin to proceed to changing to Desjardins as our insurance provider and AIG as our A&D insurance. If you have any questions, happy to answer.
Questions, please. Yeah, Councillor Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. Robin, the benefits do not reflect a change that will impact the compensation or the employment agreements?
Well, currently we no longer have collective agreements because we've moved, so they're
No, sorry. Compensation or the employment agreement?
with individual employees. Okay, right now, employees' benefits would be as per our corporate policies, which of course have language was as changes from time to time. The intention though of this is not to be changing. We let them know exactly what our levels are of our benefits providing, and then we were looking for sort of costing to stay at that same level. So council, we still have the opportunity if you wish to, or to explore other options, but the intention was to stay status quo to the levels of which we received today. Okay.
Further questions? Seeing none? Recommendation then, please.
The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from our Greenall CAO regarding the corporate group benefits program, and that council approve a contract with Desjardins Insurance as the selected provider of their corporate group benefits program, and that council approve a contract with AIG as the selected provider of the AD&D insurance benefits.
Mover, please. Councillor Denning, seconded. Councillor Sousa. All in favour? That's carried. We go to 13, board or committee of council reports or updates. Notice of motion? None presented. Council inquiries, announcements? Councillor Denning.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. I feel like I'm monopolizing things here. Just a quick question. I've had a couple reports and concerns expressed about some of the construction that's happening on the corner of Rideout Street and Center in Rodney. Although it is absolutely wonderful to see two new homes being built on two empty lots, questions have come forward from some of the neighbors. And I suppose perhaps I can direct this to you, Dave, if you're comfortable answering the question. Part of the sidewalk is blocked, presumably because of the construction. And one of the questions that one of the residents asked me was, is the blocking of that sidewalk necessary or condoned through the building permit? Or is that something that could be addressed to say, does that sidewalk not need to be blocked?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. When I've contacted the homeowner or the construction company that's building the houses and let them know that they need a road occupancy permit for that. They have submitted them. We're in the process of reviewing them. If they request to block this, close the sidewalk off, I directed them to follow Book 7 along with the closure of the sidewalks. And if there is any parking on the road as well, that they don't block the road and that they stay on their site as much as possible. The comments back from the contractor was there's a very limited space on the sites as they are. It isn't a completed subdivision already, and that there's no additional lots to store their equipment on. So they're trying to work with it as much as possible, but anybody that is looking to block a sidewalk needs to contact the municipality and get a road occupancy permit for that, which they are in the process of right now. I've asked them to keep that cleaned off as much as possible. They informed me that the crews out there, they're going to try to clean it off as as quickly as possible as they move forward. I've had a site visit out there and informing them to stay off the road in this week, actually. So we're working forward to making them follow the rules.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay, so we're going to correspondence.
As council can see, there is multiple items on this agenda for correspondence. Was there any that council would like to pull for consideration under items requiring council consideration? Okay.
Okay, so
Okay. The recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receive and file all correspondence not otherwise dealt with.
move it, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded. Councillor Statham, all in favour? That's carried. And we go to 17.1. Mayor Leatham's request to reconsider of a motion of 2026-92 Ontario Land Tribunal appeal. It was brought to my attention that motion 2026-92 Ontario Land Tribunal appeal caused significant confusion on the outcome of the vote. While my intent was to vote yes, my vote was recorded as no. As I did not raise my hand for all in favour, therefore the public record, I hereby move a motion to reconsider motion 2026-92 Ontario Land Tribunal appeal.
So for the motion to reconsider, I have Mayor Leatham as moved the motion. Do I have a seconder for to move to the motion for reconsideration? This is not the original motion itself. This is for the to open up for reconsideration. So I have Councillor Denning. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, that is carried.
Sorry, if I just might, you recognizing this as reconsideration. Reconsideration just means in order to reconsider the vote, 2/3 of council have to agree to reconsider. You're not voting on the original motion. I just didn't know if you understood that at this moment. We're not voting on the motion itself. We're just voting to reconsider it.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. I just have some concerns with
I just for the record, though, the motion to reconsider cannot have any debate on it. The debate would go to the actual motion itself when it brings forward. So the motion to reconsider has passed as we did have majority of the members. So now we will move to the motion itself, which was motion 2026-92 when we returned from closed session. Do you want to speak to that at all?
No. I think I've made myself clear.
Okay, so I will read the recommendation out, that option A is the preferred option and that municipality of West Elgin proceeds with appealing the County of Elgin Land Division Committee's decision to approve consent application E 17-26 26212 Caroline. The appeal will be filed with the Ontario Land Tribunal on or before April 14th, 2026. Yes.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So obviously we are the 23rd today. So the appeal period has ended. Can you speak to that, please?
I sure can. So the appeal itself was submitted due to understanding that it went through as a yes vote after the last. After legal consultation, as it was brought forward to us, this was indicated as the best route to go forward. If the vote does go the opposite, then we would submit a withdrawal of that appeal.
Can I ask one more question, please?
Of course.
Again, through you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to be clear on just for my own understanding, so if, as you'll all recall, I abstained, in the previous, vote, just for personal reasons. I wasn't able to hear the presentations. If, there is an abstainer, that counts as a no vote. Is that correct?
That is correct, because in our procedural bylaw, it does indicate that if a member is present when that vote is presented, so because you were, you had come into the closed session, however, you came in after that. Just for the record, for anybody that is listening, Councillor Statham came in after that, and that is why Councillor Statham abstained from voting, because he was not part of that discussion. However, when we returned to open session, because you were on camera and you were visible and you were part of the meeting at that time, and that's when the motion was presented. So that's why your vote counted as a no when you had abstained, because you were not disqualified from voting at that time.
That's fine. And okay. And then my other question was, just with respect to Mayor Leatham, if one of the members of council does not vote for whatever reason, I understand it was your intention to vote. Does that count as a yes or a no?
So Mayor Leatham's vote is also counted as a no, because he did not raise his hand when he requested all in favor.
I see.
So
the
kind of in essence, that was almost like an abstention from voting, because he did not raise his hand. So
I understand.
Mhm.
I understand. So in essence, this motion to appeal the decision was defeated. Is that correct?
correct. So on record, we had Councillor Denning voted no. Mayor Leatham did not raise his hand, so his vote was counted as no. And Councillor Statham, you abstained. Again, as explained, your vote counted as no. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Sousa both voted yes. So because the majority was counted as no, bringing forth that Mayor Leatham could bring forward the reconsideration.
Okay.
Mhm.
Last follow-up. I apologize. So if the motion was defeated and it was a no, why then did we submit the appeal?
Because the appeal was already submitted by that point when it was brought to our attention.
If I may, Mr. Ray, it was there confusion because we were because we actually thought it was a 2-1. Or sorry, it would have been 2-2 because you would have had an abstention, a no, and yes, and a yes. And that the assumption was where Mayor Leatham's vote was. So the mayor said carried, however, the mayor did not say where his hand was. And so we assumed that it carried to the yes. It was under legal review, of which they said no. His vote should have been to the no. So the appeal was filed before we understood what the legal review of what the vote was. So under legal review, what we were told was do reconsideration and come back, and so that all votes can clearly be marked.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
It does. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Sousa.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I want to make sure we get this right. I did a little bit of reading myself in the Robert's Rule of Order. If the mayor did not vote when they were there, they technically cannot move for reconsideration. Is that true?
Can I ask where that's coming from? Yeah. That's okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I did a quick searching myself today, and I didn't spend a lot of time on this, and I came up that if you were a no, that you can't move for reconsideration. I don't know if that's 100% true. I'm just
So I
questioning it.
can certainly explain it to you. That's no problem. And this is right from our procedural bylaw as well. So a motion to reconsider a decided matter within the term of council shall only be introduced by a member who voted with the majority on the original motion. Before accepting a motion to reconsider, the mayor may ask the member to confirm that he voted with the majority on the issue. So the majority vote was no. Once that had the legal review, Mayor Leatham's vote was unintentionally no. So Mayor Leatham is able to bring forth the motion for reconsideration because his vote is legally counted as a no, which was the majority.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So council, at this time, it is not debating on whether to reconsider or not, because you've passed that vote. Right now, what would happen is the motion as it is the motion as it was presented to you at the last council meeting. That is what you were voting on, as if you never voted. And so now, I guess the question's, like, we can't, you've moved to reconsider. So now you have the motion back in front of you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, through you, Mayor. No, it's not that I have another question. I'm struggling to understand how if it was a no, that we submitted the appeal, now we're reconsidering it after the appeal date of April 14th. It just, the sequence here is off, and I understand why it is this way. But to me, if it was a no and we submitted the appeal anyways as a yes, and now we're reconsidering the motion as voted on by council after the appeal date, I'm struggling to understand what exactly we're doing here. So
If I might, Mr.
Yes,
Mayor?
please.
Or did you, sorry, Terry?
No, I was just gonna say that we understood it as yes, that the motion was to move forward because we had Councillor Denning as a no, Councillor Sousa and Deputy Mayor Tellier as a yes. When the mayor said carried, we took that as indirectly, because when he says carried, the motion has gone forward. However, because he did not indicate that by putting his hand up that it was a yes, we understood it as a yes. We had a very small window of opportunity to submit it because it had to be in on the 14th. We submitted it on the 14th, and it got brought to our attention after the fact that there was considerable doubt about it. From there, we contacted municipal legal advisor, who indicated their perception of it, and that advised us to go this route of reconsideration. Therefore, yes, we are past that appeal date. However, we can still submit a withdrawal of that appeal. So in the event, as indicated, in the event that tonight's vote goes opposite and it is truly in fact a no, then tomorrow we will be submitting a withdrawal of the appeal to the OLT. Did you have anything else, Robin?
No, I think that's just a clarity. It was misunderstanding, and when someone had called after the appeal went through, then we contacted the integrity commissioner and to get his reading on the issue. And this is the direction that we were provided in order to make sure, so that we weren't, so that we can make sure that we're clearly following the direction of council.
thank you.
Okay, from here
So the vote is now, it has been read, it is on the table, so now we are looking for the vote itself from members of council.
You had a mover and a seconder?
I do not have a mover and seconder, so I need that from the
a mover and a seconder to
vote.
to bring it onto the table. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded.
Again, seconding the motion is not your vote, it is just to bring it forward to
get a decision.
Yes.
Sorry, my apologies. If it does not come back forward, I'm not trying to play silly games here. I'm just trying to make sure that I understand correctly. So if it does not come back forward, if there's no seconder and that vote does not come back forward, does it rest as a no?
My challenge here is that we do not follow Robert's rules. And that typically what has to happen is we motion and a mover or seconder brings something to the table and then we have debate. In Elgin County and this council does not seem, though Elgin County has moved to has moved to a form of which Robert's rules tends to fall. That's typically what would happen. But here, this council and many of our lower tiers, it tends to be more of a procedural thing. We tend to have our discussions before we move something. So it's backwards. We really should be motioning and then have a discussion. And then you should be going through the motion to amend, the motion to. So here, this is more of a procedural issue so that we can just vote. Because it doesn't deny that the conversation already happened. The proper way would be, if it doesn't move forward, then we don't talk about it. but you're talking about it, so.
Yeah, so if it
So
does
you-
not, yeah.
So you really for technical, it's a technical issue at this moment in time, just so we can vote? The proper way would be if you didn't want to have a discussion on the topic, then you wouldn't move and second it. But we do it backwards here.
Okay, and because this has already been voted on and it's a reconsideration, if it does not come back now for a vote a second time, does it default to the no that was the original?
My advice to council is put this on the table and
Yeah.
vote.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to understand because it's going to change the outcome because yeah, okay.
Seconded. Councillor Denny.
So now we will ask for an all in favor and all opposed.
Can we have a recorded vote, Madam Clerk, please?
Yep, for the record, Councillor Statham has asked for a recorded vote. So I will go around the table. Councillor Statham,
No?
Deputy Mayor Tellier,
Yes.
Mayor Latham,
Yes.
Councillor Denning,
Nope.
Councillor Sousa,
No.
That's defeated.
Okay. Vote defeated. Okay. Nothing else to read on that, is there? We're finished with that.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Okay, so we go into 18, which is bylaws. 18.1 bylaw 2026-22. Use of corporate resources during an election policy.
that bylaw 2026-22, being a bylaw to adopt the use of municipal resources during an election policy, be read a first, second, third, and final time.
Mover, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded. Councillor Sousa, all in favour. That's carried. Eighteen point two, bylaw 2026-23. Establish a joint compliance audit committee.
That bylaw 2026-23, being a bylaw to establish an election joint compliance audit committee for the 2026 municipal election in accordance with the Municipal Elections Act 1996, be read a first, second, third, and final time.
Mover, please. Councillor Denning, seconded. Councillor Sousa, all in favour. That's carried. 18.3, bylaw 2026-24. Appointment of treasurer. E. Nielsen.
That bylaw 2026-24, being a bylaw to appoint a treasurer for the corporation of the municipality of West Elgin, be read a first, second, third, and final time.
Mover, Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded. Councillor Statham, all in favour. That's carried. 18-4, bylaw 2026-25, drain deventure. 2024, Lamont Drain Construction.
That bylaw 2026-25, being a bylaw to authorize the issue of debentures in the principal amount of $12,863.64 for the construction of the Lamont Drain, be read a first, second, third, and final time.
Mover, please. Councillor Statham, seconded. Councillor Sousa, all in favour. That's carried. And 18.5, bylaw 2026-26, drain deventure. 2024, Fluor and Drain.
That bylaw 2026-26, being a bylaw to authorize the issue of debentures in the principal amount of $6,842.43 for the construction of the Fluor Drain, be read a first, second, third, and final time.
Mover, please. Deputy Mayor Tellier, seconded. Councillor Sousa, all in favour. That's carried. So we go to 19, which is a confirming bylaw.
That bylaw 2026-27, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held on April 9th, 2026, be read a first, second, third, and final time.
Mover, please. Councillor Sousa, seconded. Councillor Statham, all in favour. That's carried. and adjournment.
That the Council of the Municipality of West Elgin hereby adjourn at 7:00 PM to meet again at 4:00 PM on Thursday, May 14th, 2026, or at the call of the chair.
Mover, please. Councillor Sousa, seconded. Councillor Statham, all in favour? That's carried. Thank you very much. Good evening.